There's been a lot of discussion in the media as of late about personal branding or personal brand. It's a bit of a buzzword being used amongst politicians and managerial books and other social figures. However, personal branding as a phrase, I think, is best likened to the movie Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. And I feel the same way about personal branding. If I were to introduce myself to you and say, hi, my name is Renee, and my personal brand is, I think it would come off as pretty disingenuous and superficial. So rather than think about personal branding, because we are not, in fact, products, I think the better way to discuss this is being mindful in terms of authentic leadership. Starting with the authentic you, not sort of trying to mold us into products, and what makes you individually a strong leader, and bringing that out, and becoming mindful in your interactions and deliberate in your interactions to convey that authenticity. If I were to ask you to write a list of 5 adjectives that were to describe your leadership style, research shows that there would be only a zero point 0.4 correlation between the list that you've written and the list that other people would write about you. Now, that means that there's a great deal of room for us to increase that correlation. And being mindful means taking those opportunities to be deliberate, to align the impression that you wish to make with the impression that you, in fact, do make. Now, this is a very important thing because people evaluate others, not always in the most rational of means. In fact, we rely on shortcuts, also known as heuristics, in order for us to make quick decisions. It's like if you go into the cereal aisle and you see 1,000 cereals, you know a few, you only sort of process those, and you are able to make a quick decision relying on a heuristic, typically because there's a brand. Now, we can apply this idea of heuristics and branding then to evaluating how performance affects the people around us in our organization. And research shows that leaders are also subject to heuristics and therefore bias. So if we can be more mindful and in particular make these non-conscious heuristics conscious, that is the best way to neutralize any biases that might lead to suboptimal decision making. This is particularly important with regard to ideas about diversity and inclusivity, which any leader should be concerned about. Now, the fact is that people tend to think of diversity as something that is only relevant to a certain group, or perhaps less important than issues of profitability. But the research that we've conducted here shows that people who feel that they're not included in a high-performing organization with regard to being reflected in that organization's culture, actually their performance suffers. So being an authentic and mindful leader means thinking about issues of inclusivity so that you can raise the performance of all of the members of the organization and achieve the highest possible productivity for your firm.